afternoon, everyone. My name is Rich Longo, and I'll be your host. Thank you for joining another Flycast Partners webinar. Today's webinar is on TrueSight Operations, presented by Patrick Campbell. Patrick has been a TrueSight Operations evangelist for BMC for over 2 years now, and his IT career has spanned well over 15 years in various technical capabilities. In his current role, he tries to educate companies on the important role that TrueSight can play in monitoring complex IT environments and its ability to analyze diverse data, delivering actionable IT insight that helps your organization solve business problems. Before we get started, Patrick, let me introduce our organization. Flycast Partners is here to deliver a seriously amazing IT experience. Founded and staffed by personnel that have many years of experience in the IT space, we took the best ideas from these collective experiences and added the best components necessary to grow and become a leading value-added reseller in the North American IT market. We offer best-in-class implementation services and training in ITSM, ITAM, workload automation spaces, all using ITIL best practices. Our professional services can easily scale up or down in order to meet the IT needs of any customer, regardless of size, complexity, or budgetary restrictions. We offer implementation services both on-site and remote, as well as training to reinforce your organization's long-term IT success. Our ongoing administrative and support service offerings will enable your organization to focus on your normal day-to-day operations, saving you both precious time and money. Please take the time to visit our website at www.flycastpartners.com, or feel free to reach out to us directly at 844-FLYCAST. That's 844-359-2278. I encourage you to utilize our website to research white papers, take advantage of different professional services offerings that we have at Flycast Partners, including enterprise service management, training that we offer from ITIL to ITSM tools. Particularly, go to our events page, and we do have events going across North America right now that are centered around BMC footprints, client management, and BMC discovery. It's our road show. Come join us at a city near you and try some beer, enjoy a brewery tour, and learn some additional information about these products, as well as information you would not normally find out on the product roadmaps. Enjoy opportunity to talk and have great conversations with your peers, and enjoy a great meal on Flycast Partners. I also encourage you to utilize our website for the new ITSM Solution Finder. Now, before we get started, I just want to point out that we will be taking questions today during this presentation. I encourage you to please type your questions in the Q&A section of this WebEx tool, and we'll get the answers for you live as long as time permits during our presentation today. I'll read them off to Patrick, and he'll try to answer as many as he can before the end of our presentation today. So once again, type those questions in the Q&A section of this WebEx. And without further delay, I turn this presentation over to you, Patrick.
Hello. Thank you, Rich. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, sir, and I see your screen even clearer.
Okay, fantastic. So well, I'm here from BMC as a tech marketing consultant, and we have a really fresh news story with our TrueSight Operations Management platform that will give you a quick tour, a quick overview and tour of our solution in this webinar. So our TrueSight platform started about 2 years ago, where we, was after a little bit of reorg, we rebranded our solution and added a number of other solutions to our TrueSight portfolio. So we now have, and this is in our performance and analytics business unit. So we have TrueSight Operations Management, if we look around this wheel here, TrueSight Capacity Management, these are on-premise solutions, and we have some future offerings in the pipeline there. And then on our right side, we have new cloud solutions. So we host a TrueSight Pulse solution for second-by-second monitoring, and TrueSight Intelligence for taking business-related metrics and correlating them and being able to make some really good business decisions. The main platform, though, if you think about it for performance and analytics, is our TrueSight Operations Management platform. So we'll be focusing solely on this solution today and in this webinar. So with TrueSight Operations Management, what we're doing as a strategy is we're partnering with our customers, and we're realizing that we can be your advocate, sort of your advisor for a whole continuum of monitoring strategies. And if you can see from basic to advanced in a kind of a simple way, I'm just going to go over how we tackle each one of these strategies from an operational perspective, proactive, and then on up through to correlation. And what we're going to do is look at these from the perspective of actual people in an organization, you know, and kind of what their needs are. So this first person, I don't know if you can see this very well, we got Robert there. You know, he's flying through the air. He's like, you know, the system admin for IT operations, and he's got to set up monitoring from an IT operations management perspective. And with TrueSight Operations Management, he's going to have full IT stack monitoring. So we have a long history. So we have, you know, basically comprehensive coverage of way down to, you know, back-end databases and, you know, even mainframes all the way to the most advanced cloud-hosted web applications. And so he'll implement this solution, and from a very basic level, he'll have the operational view of the performance and availability of the key applications and services running in the infrastructure environment. And he's the one who probably has the most how do I say it, the most headaches with communicating with other people in an organization. So you want to make sure you're pleasing Robert, because he's going to have folks like Lily, who is in application support. So this is someone who is a consumer of the TrueSight Operations Management platform, and they're responsible for, you know, a specific application in the, you know, the enterprise. And Lily is concerned with being proactive. And in this case, this is being proactive for this application where she can see all the tiers that are associated with her application. With TrueSight Operations Management, these critical components are automatically discovered and then shown here in their state of health. And she can then go into each one of these tiers and pinpoint, you know where and troubleshoot issues fast. Our next person is, you know, of course, sort of a QA role or a DevOps kind of person who could be in, you know, in the development stage or could be in production. They're rolling out code and they're constantly checking to make sure it's okay, and, you know, that there's no defects, and, you know, they want to deliver it on time, but also, you know, make changes quickly if they need to. So with TrueSight Operations Management, you know, once you get beyond those tiers, you can view the application and infrastructure together. And in this example, we can see how, in context, there's a view of the application flow, you know, from the web browser, web server, application server, and then back to the database. So that's a real contextual view for Arun. And Susan, very demanding. She's the person in the organization who's responsible for the service management, service excellence within the organization. And this is really our strong suit. I'm sure some of you know our event and impact management solution is second to none in the industry. So, and we've really revamped this so that your dashboard of events are really the most critical events that you need to address right away. We say that we eliminate the event sprawl by having intelligent event management. And that means that you know, it's not just an event that occurs because, you know, there's some threshold that's violated, or even a threshold that's, say, violated, you know, 5 times in the last hour or something like that. In some organizations, that might not even be an issue, and people are tired of having it, like, go through the system. So we have, you know, a way of intelligently figuring out that if, let's say, that is violated 5 times in the last hour and another condition occurs, like, say, the memory on a set of web servers, if both of those conditions, then that's an event that we really need to address. So we do that as well as discover when a particular measurement that you identified falls out what's considered normal. So you can be very tactical in your addressing of events. The lead developer, now this is the person in the organization who, you know, wants to tamper with the code, you know, who wants, you know, gets all the credit for, you know, application development, but wants to have just a little bit more than just basic, you know, operational up and down time. So with this, you know, giving him access to take, you know, a look at an event and then to be able to dive deeper right from the event. So here you can see, this is just a, you know, like the action menu here, so that they can do a probable cause analysis. So once an event occurs, you can look at the events that occurred at the same time, and someone like, you know, Miguel can, like, you know, go in and troubleshoot the issue and find the root cause, and even down to the logs that occurred. This is a role that's relatively new in IT operations management. Like, who would think that, like, the vice president of marketing for an enterprise, you know, has any role in IT operations? Well, now more than ever, IT operations is partnering with other business units. So let's say, you know, in the organization, Emma has rolled out a campaign for, you know, sort of an incentive for more customers to buy more during a certain amount of time. Well, if she partners with IT, they could, for example, you know, record, like, what the latency is for the specific landing page that she's concerned about, and that if they improve, let's say, the latency to get to that page so that people can, you know, log in and buy, let's say it's e-commerce, you know, log in and buy something with a better user experience, you know, how will that impact, you know, the cost, the amount of money that they spend on the ad campaign, as well as how much it would cost to improve the latency and, you know, increase the orders. So with TrueSight Operations Management and that quick tour, you see that, you know, from Robert, you know, all the way to Emma, the IT operations team can be a champion, because we have that full visibility that's, you know, vendor and platform agnostic, collecting data from just about anywhere. We have the connectors, you know, we don't require to use, you know, solely the BMC vendor, and we can take all of this data, make sense of it, do correlations, score it, and find any kind of, you know, probable cause for the performance and analytics of your environment. So with that, let's take a look at the live application. So I'm going to escape from here and go in here. And I've just, you know, I've logged in. Let me just show you, just so you can see this. This is live. All right, so, you know, there's Robert again. See him? He doesn't have his name tag, but he's, you know, he's going to log into the console that he's already, you know, configured. And once you're in, this is the main management console, and we've made quite a lot of effort over the last 2 years to consolidate, you know, some of the legacy consoles. So, you know, this landing page could be any dashboard that you design. You know, this is application servers health. What we're going to look at is that stock trader application and see how we're showcasing that. So with the stock trader application, this is a, you know, think of it as a, you know, typical, you know, E-Trade kind of thing, where customers from all over the globe, from their smartphone or tablet or desktop. They're accessing this application from web pages, and they're doing transactions like getting quotes, updating their portfolio. Well, from an IT operations standpoint, you can create a dashboard, and that's what this is, of anything that you consider critical within that application delivery context. So this was actually created from dashboards, but what I'm going to show you here is what is automatically generated once you instrument that application. So the StockTrader application has, a web front end, it has real users interacting with the application, it has a business tier, web tier, database tier, and this is automatically generated for you once you define the application, and it gives you this view of this tab view of monitoring this application. And the one piece of this is, all of this is constructed by real user transactions, except for the synthetic tier. So this is a valuable tier. It's not like the others in the sense, because you're determining from the synthetic transaction standpoint is you're checking in some cases, every minute or so, or however you want to find out the key transactions within your environment, making sure that they're meeting their SLAs. So, for example, if something happens on a Sunday afternoon before Emma's, ad campaign kickoff on Monday, you would be notified of that right away, so you could fix it even before any end users are accessing the application. So that's just one aspect to point out with this tier. So what I'm going to do now is let's zero in on one of these tiers. So you can see this time slider goes back to any time. I want to highlight this business tier. So if I click on this business tier, we know that there's a specific application server that has degraded performance, and just a quick tour of how fast you could get down to even the code level for this particular issue. So we see that the quoting, ASPX transaction has latency violations. We can click here and show the traces for that transaction, and we can see then the trace details, which provides then for the IT operations staff, and in this case, we kind of showcase the application support, if you remember, Lily. So in this case, we can see now that this get quotes web services call here is taking essentially 10 seconds. And if you think about it, 10 seconds is a really long time, especially in today's, expectation of, being able to do things quickly. So if someone accessing this is trying to, it could take 10 seconds, and they could be easily like switching to another application, and they end up not even executing the trade. So I just quickly flip then to the code level, so then we can see a breakdown of the different components of this transaction. And one thing to highlight here is when this is stitched together, it includes the total transaction, but there can be, at the same time, sort of asynchronous transactions going on in the back end. So you can see all of those related to those two latency violations. All right, so let's take a look, see what we got here for events. And just to highlight this, this is that action menu. This is kind of like, Susan's ability or Miguel's ability to launch, into any set of one of these actions. So, assigning the event, acknowledging it, and then if they want, we also have remote actions that you can configure and sort of automate the remediation of this. But what we want to show you real quick is we also tie into, and this is, again, kind of market leading in a sense, that we have tied now the log analytics with the IT operations data. So that you saw there, I right-clicked or just used this action menu, clicked on Launch IT Data Analytics, and here I am in our log analysis. So what it does is it automatically generates for us through that, it gives us the application context. So now we're seeing all of the log files You see this? All the log files 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after that particular event. So, you know, we can do some troubleshooting there, just to sort of showcase the dashboard. We can coalesce the data. So, you know, this is making sense of all these log entries. What coalescing does is it takes similar entries, all right? So this doesn't look as, you know, consuming now because there's like 228 similar entries. So that's an example of coalescing the data, you know, by a factor, and you can control that. You know, when you coalesce it, you can give it basically a score. One thing you could do then is once you find something, let's just do something real simple. So if I say, oh, let's just find the logs for warning, and I click on, you know, I just put in warning, you know, I quickly can see the warning log entries for that particular time period. And once I find something, I can do like a saved search. So these are all these like saved searches that's, you know, anyone in our demo environment has created, you know, that automatically put together these, you know, expressions, and then they can find, you know, what issues are associated with those logs. All right, so let's go back to our slideshow. And this is the last piece before we have a little bit of question and answer is, once you have that visibility, we have just recently, within our last release, we've introduced our mobile app. So this is really important because with the number of people that you know, need to know what's happening with IT operations, in the past, and I know every organization is kind of changing with this, but for fear of saying, I'll just say it, old-fashioned way, in a sense, is sometimes, you know, generating reports for your manager or generating reports for constituents. I'm sure we're all familiar, you know, you sit in a meeting, and then once we're done troubleshooting an issue, someone says, can we have a report on, you know, how things are going with a particular issue? Well, this is now like a more modern way to do this is give access to stakeholders. This app you can download from the iTunes store for iPhone, and we'll have another app for Android coming up in the next release cycle. So what you can do then is sort of as an alternative to, you know, this reporting, you can give folks in your organization access to the health of the specific applications they're concerned about, so that they can see, you know, which applications are in a critical state and how long they've been in that state, so they can actually sort of monitor how you're addressing it. You know, it could be a good and it could be a bad thing, but I think most people would argue that it's a good thing because it will reduce, you know, the number of emails and communication about, you know, what's going on when now they can just sort of self-service it with the application. All right, and then this is the last piece of content that we want to go over here today is that TrueSight Operations Management has made a commitment to release, you know, more than once a year. So we don't have this sort of pent-up, you know, yearly release with minor releases and patch. Well, of course, you know, any organization might have some patches, but we do release more often, and we also do, if you're familiar with the term, you know, the patrol agents and the knowledge modules. So we now release on a quarterly basis updates to our full stack IT monitoring with our knowledge module. You can call them plugins or patrol agents. Those have all been modernized, and you can you know, do the configuration now in the TrueSight Operations Management console instead of having to dig into some administrative layer. And we just wanted to highlight today that we are keeping up with the trends of today with, you know, modeling with OpenStack and Hadoop environments. So with that, I think we can take some questions. Just want to remind folks that you can join, anybody can join the BMC Communities site for any of the solutions, whether it's TrueSight Operations Management or, the other services, discovery and other TrueSight capacity optimization or any of those communities. So just have a look, take a look at those communities and get involved. So Rich, what kind of questions do we have?
I don't have any questions immediately. Typically, once we ask for questions, that's when people have a tendency to type in the questions. But it always works that way. But if there are any questions, I encourage you to please go ahead and type your questions in, and Patrick will answer as many questions as he can as time allows. This is the opportunity to learn more about TrueSight Operations and how it can help your organization, what it can do for you, and look at the amount of time and money that can be saved for your business, and money that could be better spent elsewhere, right? So did you have anything else that you want to talk about in regards to TrueSight at this point, Patrick, or that's pretty much the overview?
Well, that's the overview. I definitely can talk for a long time. I'm just, real proud of how this solution has evolved in the last 2 years. And I want to mention that one of the most successful, ways to introduce TrueSight is, through partners and through, the ability to champion the solution with, a subject matter expert that can help you get the value. We have, of course, our yearly technical conferences. We have, a lot of learning in the BMC communities. You can find what other people are contributing to how the solution works, and we're constantly innovating. We'll be coming up with, in the next couple of weeks, an addition to our TrueSight Pulse offering, so that you'll be able to see, end user experience monitoring with that solution.
And we do have questions now.
I knew it. Okay.
This person actually has, they actually have Sharewell for their ITSM, and they want to know how it would integrate with that and their CMDB creation and integration, asset management, and real-time monitoring. Is this something that can work with that tool?
Yep. So that's a great question, and I want to highlight now. With the CMDB integration, what TrueSight Operations Management can do now is create a service model based on a CMDB. So, either, that CMDB is, imported and automatically mapped with CIs in our infrastructure management solution, and we'll create a service model for that so that you can have this view right here from the presentation. It's integrating with other solutions. There's kind of like 2 ways that can work. So events can percolate up from that environment, or events from this environment can propagate to other solutions. So either one of them is possible. And we do have this new, open API for things like that. It's a specific API for our TrueSight solutions that we're leveraging and allowing a lot more integration with other tools. But definitely, we're definitely vendor agnostic, so that you can see that. We can launch remote actions from this. They can automatically, be configured here. Of course, there's none on this one, but all of that's configurable. The other piece to the integration with other solutions is the idea, or the capability, I should say, of really having a smart, say, I'll say like, event and impact architecture that you can construct so that you minimize the amount of, opening of tickets or, service resolution issues, with some smart programming. We definitely have, out-of-the-box timers, correlation and enrichment, like, adding more information or kicking off this script or that with a specific event, or you can absolutely program it if you want. All of that's documented, with our programming solution. So let me know, does that answer this person's question?
Well, Gary, we appreciate the question, and Gary, let us know if that answered your question or not. We do have a whole flood of questions. Gary says, yes, it did. The next question comes from Matthew. Matthew says, does it allow for editing the code through TrueSight, or do you have to use a third-party application?
When you, I guess the question is the editing of the code. We don't, expose editing of, the actual application code here, but in terms of that MRL, for editing the architecture of how you handle events, that's just in a text editor. So you just, we have it documented like what fields are required, and you can just edit it, and then you upload it to a directory. So it's as simple as that.
Okay, and now another question. This one also comes from Matthew. Does TrueSight work best as a standalone solution or with integration?
What does, I need to know basically what integration means. Let me just say that, TrueSight Operations Management is a specific platform that's hosted on-premise, so it has the presentation server element, it has the infrastructure management server, it has app visibility, you could add to it the synthetic agents. So all of that is, created as a standalone, I guess, solution that, then has the connector. So you can, configure, let's say, connectors to other BMC solutions or other vendor solutions. So I'm not sure what the integrated means. Okay, go ahead.
And when they came back with other service desks was the further
yeah, absolutely.
part of the
like
question.
ServiceNow, ServiceNow or our Remedy. We definitely have the ability to integrate directly with those. With ServiceNow, we have to do some some configuration. It's not always straightforward, but it's definitely open. We don't discourage it. Let's put it that way.
The next question is coming from Lou, and it's actually a two-part question. Lou wants to know what has to be done to the existing patrol or agent deployments to use TrueSight, and second part, can TrueSight exist in a mixed environment, TrueSight and legacy BEM?
Yeah, yes and no. That's a good answer, right? So definitely TrueSight is, the platform that we're using going forward, and the patrol agents and the architecture of the patrol agents from previous releases, previous to 9.6, I believe, will integrate really well with TrueSight, but they won't have this latest capability of being able to manage it right from the presentation server. So, we have created the ability now with this latest version of TrueSight so that you can push the knowledge modules out to the different managed nodes instead of having to essentially physically, update the patrol agents on everything and update the KMs. Where within the next release, the patrol agent has changed significantly enough that you'll want to upgrade to at least the 10.5 patrol agent to have this functionality of being able to centrally manage the knowledge modules. So it does, get the data from some of the legacy patrol agents. And we know a lot of customers out there are still using patrol from way, even releases way before 9.6, and it's just in place, it's running, they're doing well with monitoring whatever it is, and their legacy environment is not changing too rapidly, and that's fine. They can continue to use that. But as we move forward, we want people to have that functionality to be able to upgrade in a sense or add the latest monitoring in real time. We've had many customers say that, upgrading to the next patrol agent is it takes too long. We needed like a change window that lasts like 3 months, and people just were frustrated with the upgrade process. And so we're essentially eliminating that within the next two releases, I should say.
Okay, and we have another question. Does TrueSight have agents on each machine, or how does it record the event?
That's a good question. Well, again, the answer is depends, because events can come from so many different sources. I mean, an event can come from a log entry in IT data analytics. It can come from the underlying patrol agent monitoring. It can come from something that you create in terms of a dynamic threshold. So, you definitely have to have, everything that you want to monitor from an infrastructure perspective. You're either going to have an agent locally or a remote agent that can be, in a central location, and then like remotely monitoring, like the Hadoop environment, for example. So that agent can be on just one location, but you just give it the login parameters for whatever the remote environment is, and it will, propagate those events from there. As far as application monitoring, we have the active agent that we put on the web server that's used to collect all the transaction data across the back-end stack, and then we inject the front-end web pages with a JavaScript. So that's, for the application context view that we looked at there for the stock trader. And then we also have real user end user experience with passive tags. So we have the ability to analyze packets, either off the wire in a on-premise solution, and now more recently we just released our software edition of this solution so that you can host or place this solution in whatever cloud environment you have, so that all the data stays in the cloud and you don't have to pay for like data charges. And again, that's just passive monitoring.
Okay, and it looks like we have another question here. Does it have an agent updater, or do you have to use something like client management to update?
Right now, you have to, I don't know if it's client, but you have to update, you have to manually update it. But it just, you can do it from a central location moving forward. I hope that makes sense. It doesn't automatically update. You have to give it the okay. The thing that's easier is you don't have to go to each node and update now. You can, as we move forward, you'll be able to, right now we have the ability to update knowledge modules from one location. Within the next release, we'll have the ability to update the patrol agents without having to take down and put back up kind of thing. It'll just be from one location, but not automatic.
Okay, and Patrick, it looks like we used up all the questions, which is great. We had some fantastic questions there at the end. It always takes everybody a couple minutes to start sending them in, but I think overall this is a fantastic presentation. I thank you for taking time out of your day today to do this for us, Patrick.
Sure, really appreciate it. It's great.
Yeah, and folks, we appreciate each and every one of you that attended today's presentation, and thank you for the time that you've taken from your day as well. I ask that everyone have a great rest of the day and be safe out there. And until next time.